My name is Ethan Voss. 3 weeks before the world ended, I was arguing with a designer about the color of a private helipad. That should tell you everything you need to know about the kind of man I was. At 39 years old, I was worth billions. My technology company had revolutionized energy storage, military-grade robotics, and artificial intelligence. I owned penthouses, yachts, islands, and enough luxury cars to fill a museum. But there was one project I loved more than anything else. Project Titan. My suit. For nearly 8 years, I had poured obscene amounts of money into building the world's first true powered exoskeleton. Governments wanted pieces of it. Defense contractors begged to buy it. I refused every offer. The Titan suit wasn't designed for war. At least that's what I told people. Truthfully, I built it because I wanted to become something greater than an ordinary man. The suit stood nearly 7 feet tall inside its charging chamber beneath my mansion overlooking the California coastline. Its titanium alloy shell gleamed beneath white laboratory lights. Hundreds of servos, actuators, and microprocessors worked together as one seamless machine. When fully powered, it could lift cars. Its onboard AI could process combat scenarios faster than any human. And thanks to experimental battery technology developed by my company, it could operate for nearly 24 hours before needing a recharge. The media called me arrogant. They weren't wrong. I believed I could solve any problem. I believed technology could fix anything. Then the dead started walking. And suddenly, all my money became worthless. The first reports seemed ridiculous. Violent attacks, cannibalism, mass hysteria. People posted videos online showing blood-covered individuals biting strangers in public. Most experts dismissed it. Most governments reassured everyone. Most news channels called it misinformation. Then the hospitals filled. Then the hospitals fell. Then entire cities stopped responding. I watched everything unfold from my mansion's command center. At first, I wasn't concerned. I had security teams, private helicopters, enough food stored underground to survive years. I thought the apocalypse was something that happened to other people, not me. I was wrong. The first sign of real trouble came 4 days later. My head of security entered my laboratory looking pale. "Sir," I looked up from a diagnostic screen. "What is it?" "The city's gone dark." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "The entire power grid." I walked toward the observation windows overlooking the coastline. Normally, the city glittered beneath the night sky. Now, darkness. Complete darkness. Only scattered fires burned in the distance. The horizon glowed orange. Smoke rose everywhere. For the first time, genuine unease settled into my stomach. "Get everyone inside," I said. "Already done." "Any communications?" "Spotty." That was when we heard gunfire. Far away. Then screaming carried by the wind. Nobody said a word. Because suddenly we all understood. Civilization was collapsing. The next 48 hours were chaos. News stations disappeared, one after another. Emergency broadcasts looped endlessly. Military forces attempted quarantines. Most failed. Every hour brought worse reports. Entire neighborhoods overrun. Police stations abandoned. Airports shut down. Governments losing control. And through it all, I remained hidden inside my fortress-like estate. Safe. Protected. Watching. Until the night everything changed. The attack came shortly after midnight. Security alarms erupted throughout the mansion. Red warning lights flashed across every hallway. I sprinted toward the command center. What happened? One of my guards pointed toward surveillance monitors. My blood turned cold. Hundreds of figures staggered through the outer grounds. They emerged from forests, roadways, drainage systems, every direction. A sea of rotting bodies pressed against the perimeter walls. How many? I asked. The guard swallowed. Thousands. I stared at the screens. The dead moved strangely. Slow, uncoordinated, yet relentless. Like a tide. One body slammed repeatedly against a steel gate. Then another. Then hundreds. Metal groaned. Concrete cracked. I finally understood something most people never had the chance to learn. The zombies weren't dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they never stopped. The outer wall failed 23 minutes later. Security teams opened fire immediately. Machine guns echoed across the estate. Bodies fell. More replaced them. And more. And more. A tsunami of flesh. The command center erupted with shouted orders. North sector breached. East gate down. The mansion shook from distant explosions. Glass shattered somewhere above us. A terrible realization settled over me. Money couldn't stop this. Influence couldn't stop this. Power couldn't stop this. Only one thing could. The suit. I looked toward my chief engineer. How operational is Titan? His eyes widened. Ethan, answer me. 96%. Good enough. The engineer hesitated. It was never tested in live combat. I laughed bitterly. We're about to conduct a field test. The underground laboratory trembled as explosions echoed above. Emergency lights painted everything crimson. The Titan suit stood waiting. Magnificent. Terrifying. For years it had been my obsession. Now it might be humanity's last hope. I stepped onto the platform. Mechanical arms descended. Armor plates folded around my body. Titanium locked into place. The helmet sealed shut. Instantly, the world transformed. HUD displays illuminated my vision. Threat indicators appeared. Power levels. Environmental analysis. Target tracking. The AI activated. Good evening, Ethan. I smiled. Funny timing, Athena. Current circumstances suggest elevated mortality risk. You're saying we're in trouble? Despite everything, I laughed. Correct. Then the suit powered fully online. The floor vibrated beneath me. Energy surged through every system. For the first time, I felt truly connected to the machine. Stronger, faster, more powerful than any human alive. Athena's voice became serious. Multiple hostile entities detected above. I clenched my armored fists. Opened the blast doors. Massive steel barriers began separating. The sounds reached me immediately. Gunfire. Screaming. Chaos. I stepped forward. The doors finished opening. Hundreds of zombies turned toward me simultaneously. Their glowing eyes reflected in my visor. The nearest corpse lunged. Athena calmly announced. Combat mode activated. I launched forward like a missile. The first zombie never even touched me. One moment it was sprinting toward me, with blood running down its chin. The next, my armored fist connected with its skull. The impact sounded like a cannon blast. The corpse launched through the air and crashed into a dozen others. Bodies scattered across the courtyard. For a split second, I simply stared. I had known the Titan suit was powerful. I hadn't realized it was that powerful. Impact force exceeded projections by 23%, Athena reported. Another wave charged. I met them head-on. The suit moved like an extension of my body. Hydraulic systems amplified every movement. Servos reacted instantly. A zombie grabbed my arm. I twisted. The creature's shoulder ripped completely out of its socket. Another lunged at my back. The suit's sensors detected it before I did. I spun and kicked. The infected flew nearly 20 feet. Several guards on a nearby balcony stopped shooting long enough to stare. I couldn't blame them. Watching a 7-foot armored giant punch through a zombie horde probably wasn't something they expected to see tonight. Unfortunately, neither did the zombies. They kept coming. Hundreds of them. Thousands, maybe. The mansion grounds had become a battlefield illuminated by burning vehicles and emergency lights. Everywhere I looked, the dead were advancing. Everywhere. For nearly an hour, I fought. The suit performed flawlessly. Its strength was unbelievable. Its armor remained undamaged. The onboard AI continuously identified threats and suggested optimal engagement routes. And yet, we were losing. Not because the zombies could hurt me, because there were simply too many. The dead poured through breaches in the estate's perimeter walls. Every time security teams cleared one area, another became overwhelmed. The infected climbed over each other like ants swarming prey. They didn't care about casualties. They didn't fear death. They didn't get tired. I finally understood why cities were falling. Human beings fought battles. The zombies fought wars of attrition. And attrition always favored the side that never needed food, sleep, or morale. Security Team Bravo has been overrun, Athena announced. I turned immediately. A red marker appeared on my visor. The Western Courtyard, nearly half a kilometer away. I activated the suit's mobility boosters. Compressed propulsion systems fired. The ground exploded beneath my feet. Suddenly, I was airborne. For years, engineers had argued whether limited flight capabilities were worth incorporating into the design. I had insisted. Now I silently congratulated myself. I crossed the distance in seconds. The scene awaiting me was horrific. A dozen guards stood trapped atop an ornamental fountain. Hundreds of zombies surrounded them. Ammunition was running low. Several men were already wounded. One guard spotted me descending from the sky. His eyes widened. "Ethan." I hit the ground like a meteor. Shockwaves rippled outward. Bodies flew in every direction. Then I charged. Steel met flesh. Hydraulic power crushed bone. For several minutes, nothing existed except violence. When the last zombie finally collapsed, the survivors stared at me in disbelief. One of them laughed nervously. "You look like something out of a superhero movie." By dawn, the attack finally ended. The zombies stopped coming. Not because we had won, because they had exhausted themselves elsewhere. The surviving infected simply wandered away, following sounds, following movement, following whatever primitive instinct drove them. The estate looked like a war zone. Entire sections had been destroyed. Fires smoldered everywhere. Bodies covered the grounds, human and zombie alike. I stood atop the main terrace overlooking the devastation. Exhaustion settled into my bones. Not physical exhaustion. The suit handled that. Mental exhaustion. The weight of understanding that the world I knew was gone. Athena interrupted my thoughts. Ethan, I recommend reviewing satellite feeds. My stomach tightened. Show me. The visor activated. Images appeared. And everything got worse. Major cities across the world were burning. New York, London, Paris, Tokyo, Sydney, Los Angeles, Moscow. Entire regions had gone silent. Military formations were retreating. Civilian populations were fleeing in every direction. Highways resembled rivers of abandoned vehicles. The outbreak wasn't local. It wasn't national. It was global. Civilization wasn't collapsing. It had already collapsed. What are casualty estimates? I asked quietly. Athena paused, then answered. Potentially hundreds of millions. The number hit harder than any zombie ever could. Hundreds of millions. Families, children, entire lives erased. All within days. For the first time in years, I felt completely helpless. Then Athena displayed something unexpected. A classified document. One that should not have existed on any public network. What's this? I intercepted military communications during the night. The file opened. My heart sank. The document carried the logo of a secret government research facility. Project Lazarus. Below it were several words highlighted in red. Biological enhancement trials. Infection vector. Containment failure. I stared at the screen. Athena enlarged the file. The evidence suggests the outbreak may have originated from a laboratory accident. My jaw tightened. Someone had created this. Someone had engineered the thing, destroying humanity. The realization filled me with anger unlike anything I had ever experienced. Millions dead. Because of human arrogance. Later that afternoon, I descended into the mansion's underground command center. The surviving staff gathered around a conference table. There weren't many left. Perhaps 40 people. Engineers, security personnel, scientists, friends. The people who had survived because they happened to be near me when the world ended. They looked exhausted, terrified, hopeless. I understood why. For years, people had looked to governments for protection. Those governments no longer existed. Someone had to lead. Unfortunately, that someone was me. I activated a large display screen. Satellite imagery appeared. "How bad is it?" one engineer asked. I considered lying. Instead, I told the truth. The world is gone. Silence followed. Several people lowered their heads. A woman quietly began crying. But we're still here. Everyone looked up. We have power, resources, food, technology, defenses. I gestured toward the screen. Most survivors don't. The room remained silent. Then one of the guards spoke. "What are you saying?" I thought about the question, about the burning cities, about the people still trapped out there, about the billions I once spent building things nobody needed. Then I finally answered. "We stop hiding." The room erupted immediately. "That's insane. We barely survived one attack. The outside world is dead." I let them argue. Then I raised a hand. The room quieted. People are still alive. Nobody disputed that. If there are survivors, we find them. A scientist shook his head. "We can't save everyone." The words felt heavy, painful, true. But we can save someone. That changed everything. Because suddenly the mission wasn't about surviving. It was about purpose. And purpose can keep people alive longer than food. 3 days later, Preparations were complete. The Titan suit had been repaired and upgraded. Supply vehicles were loaded, weapons distributed, communication systems restored. A rescue expedition would leave the estate at sunrise. Our first mission into the ruins of civilization. As I stood alone in the laboratory that night, Athena suddenly spoke. "Ethan, I have detected a potential issue." I frowned. "What kind of issue?" The AI projected a series of diagnostics. My blood ran cold. The suit's power core, the heart of Titan. It was degrading, rapidly, impossible. The system should have lasted years. Yet somehow, something was causing accelerated deterioration. "How long?" I asked. Athena calculated, then answered. "If current degradation continues," a pause, "approximately 6 months. 6 months. The most advanced piece of technology ever created. Humanity's greatest weapon. My greatest advantage. And it was dying." I stared at the diagnostic report, then at the suit itself. For the first time since the outbreak began, genuine fear returned. Because out there waited billions of zombies. And if Titan failed, I would just be another man. At dawn, the convoy rolled through the shattered gates of the estate. The world beyond looked like a graveyard. Abandoned cars lined highways. Smoke drifted across empty suburbs. The silence felt wrong, unnatural, as though humanity had vanished overnight. I stood atop the lead armored vehicle wearing Titan, scanning, watching, waiting. Then Athena spoke. Multiple life signs detected. Hope surged through me. Survivors? Possibly. A map appeared. The signal originated from a small town several miles away. Someone was alive. Someone needed help. I smiled. Let's go save them. But far beneath an underground military facility, hundreds of miles away, a man watched my convoy through a surveillance monitor. A man who should have been dead. A man connected to Project Lazarus. And when he saw the Titan suit on the screen, he smiled. Because he had been searching for Ethan Voss. And now he knew exactly where to find him. The convoy reached the town shortly before noon. From a distance, it looked untouched. That alone made me suspicious. Every settlement we'd passed during the journey had been devastated. Burned vehicles, blocked roads, buildings stood abandoned. Corpses littered the streets. But this place was different. The small town sat nestled between rolling hills and dense forest. The streets appeared empty. The buildings remained intact. No smoke. No destruction. No visible zombies. It looked almost normal. Almost. "Something feels wrong," one of the security officers said over the radio. "I agree," I replied. Athena immediately highlighted several rooftops. Multiple observation points detected. I narrowed my eyes. They're watching us. The convoy rolled slowly toward the town center. Within seconds, armed figures emerged. Dozens of them. Men and women carrying hunting rifles, shotguns, and improvised weapons. Unlike the frightened survivors I'd expected to find, these people looked organized, disciplined, prepared. A tall woman stepped forward. She appeared to be in her early 30s. Dark hair tied back, weathered clothing, a rifle slung across her shoulder. Most importantly, she wasn't staring at the Titan suit in fear. She was studying it, evaluating it. "State your business," she called. I stepped down from the armored vehicle. The crowd immediately tensed. 7 feet of armored titanium tends to have that effect. We received a distress signal. The woman frowned. We didn't send one. That answer surprised me. Athena's voice immediately sounded inside my helmet. Ethan, the signal originated here. I looked around carefully. Someone was lying. I just didn't know who. The woman eventually lowered her rifle. I'm Maya. Ethan. She glanced at the Titan suit. I figured. The town had survived through discipline. That became obvious almost immediately. Barricades protected every entrance. Watchtowers overlooked major roads. Food supplies were carefully rationed. Every survivor had a role. Unlike many groups that emerged after civilization collapsed, this one wasn't held together by fear. It was held together by competence. Maya explained everything as we walked through the town. We lost over 70% of our population during the first week. I listened quietly. We adapted. Her expression hardened. Those who didn't adapt died. I couldn't argue with that. The apocalypse didn't reward optimism. It rewarded preparation. And Maya clearly understood that better than most. As we toured the settlement, children cautiously emerged from buildings. Many had never seen armor like Titan. Several openly stared. One little boy pointed. Are you a robot? The question caught me off guard. I laughed. No. The child frowned. For the first time in days, genuine smiles appeared among the survivors. It felt good. Normal. The feeling didn't last. The attack began just before sunset. One moment we were discussing supply routes. The next, gunfire erupted from the northern edge of town. Everyone froze. Then alarm sounded. Maya immediately grabbed her rifle. Positions. Survivors sprinted toward defensive locations. I activated Titan's combat systems. Athena. Multiple hostiles approaching. Numbers? The AI paused, then answered. Unknown. I didn't like that response. Athena never said unknown, not unless something unusual was happening. We reached the northern barricade within minutes. The defenders were already firing. At first I couldn't understand why. Then I saw them. The zombies. But these weren't normal infected. Not even close. The creature moved impossibly fast. 1 second it stood 50 meters away. The next it had crossed half the distance. A defender fired. The zombie dodged. Actually dodged. My stomach tightened. The infected slammed into the barricade with incredible force. Wood exploded. Metal bent. Several defenders stumbled backward. Another creature appeared. Then another. Then dozens more. Unlike ordinary zombies, these moved with terrifying speed and coordination. They leaped over obstacles, changed direction, avoided gunfire. The crowd around me began panicking. What are those things? I don't know, someone shouted. Neither did I. But I knew one thing. If these variants became widespread, humanity's chances just got significantly worse. The first fast zombie reached the barricade. I met it head on. The creature lunged. I punched. The impact shattered its chest. The body flew backward. Unlike normal infected, however, the others didn't blindly rush forward. They spread out, flanking, adapting, learning. Athena immediately detected the pattern. Ethan, I see it. They demonstrate advanced behavioral responses. I grimaced. Great. The zombies were evolving. Exactly what humanity needed. The battle intensified rapidly. Fast variants poured from the surrounding forest. Gunfire echoed across the valley. Survivors fought desperately to hold the line. Several zombies broke through. Screams followed. I launched forward. Titan's boosters ignited. The suit became a steel missile. I crashed into the infected wave. Bodies exploded outward. For several minutes I fought continuously. Punch, kick, crush, repeat. But unlike previous battles, these creatures forced me to work for every victory. They anticipated movements, targeted weak points, attacked in groups. Athena suddenly interrupted. Warning. What now? Rear approach. I spun. Too late. Something slammed into my back. Hard. Hard enough to stagger Titan. My eyes widened. Nothing had ever done that before. I turned. The creature standing behind me was enormous, nearly 9 feet tall. Its body bulged with unnatural muscle growth. Gray skin stretched across distorted limbs. The thing looked less like a zombie and more like a biological weapon. Well, I muttered, that's definitely new. The monster roared, then charged. The impact felt like being hit by a truck. Titan absorbed most of it. Most. I still flew backward through a parked vehicle. Metal crumpled around me. Warning indicators flashed across my visor. Minor structural damage. Nothing critical. Yet, the giant zombie advanced. Every footstep shook the ground. Maya's voice crackled over the radio. What the hell is that thing? No idea. The monster swung again. I blocked. The force pushed me several meters. Definitely stronger than anything I'd encountered before. Athena rapidly analyzed the target. Significant mutation detected. Can we kill it? That remains the preferred outcome. I rolled my eyes. Even during the apocalypse, Athena's humor remained intact. The battle lasted nearly 10 minutes. An eternity in combat. The giant zombie was absurdly resilient. Broken bones didn't stop it. Gunfire barely slowed it. Even direct impacts from Titan struggled to bring it down. Finally, I spotted an opportunity. The creature charged again. This time, I activated maximum booster output. Titan surged forward. The two of us collided like freight trains. I grabbed the monster, locked both arms around it, then fired every propulsion system simultaneously. The world blurred. We launched into the air, 30 feet, 40, 50, then crashed directly onto a concrete parking structure. The impact shattered everything beneath us. Concrete exploded. Steel twisted. The giant zombie finally stopped moving. For several seconds, I simply lay there, breathing heavily. Athena spoke. Target neutralized. I smiled. Good. Then I looked around. The battlefield had gone quiet. The remaining zombies were retreating. The survivors had won. For now, hours later, celebrations spread throughout the town. People were alive. The attack had been repelled. Hope briefly returned. Yet, something bothered me. The distress signal, the mutations, the timing, none of it felt random. I stood alone on a rooftop overlooking the settlement. Maya approached. You saved a lot of lives today. So did you. She nodded. Then her expression darkened. For several moments, neither of us spoke. Then Athena suddenly interrupted, urgently. Ethan. My posture stiffened immediately. What happened? I have intercepted an encrypted transmission. A series of coordinates appeared, along with a short message. Just 6 words. I know what happened. Come alone. My pulse quickened. Source? Athena answered instantly. Underground military installation. I stared at the message. Someone knew about Project Lazarus. Someone knew about the outbreak. And somehow, someone knew I would come looking. Far away, deep beneath layers of reinforced concrete and steel, the mysterious man watched another monitor. This time, he wasn't smiling. Because the giant zombie that had attacked the town had been only the first test, and Ethan Voss had passed, which meant the next phase could begin. Sleep had become a luxury I rarely experienced. The apocalypse didn't leave much room for rest. Even when exhaustion finally dragged me into unconsciousness, nightmares waited. Burning cities, endless hordes, the faces of people I couldn't save. That night was no different. Yet before dawn, I was already standing inside Titan's maintenance bay. The encrypted message hovered on a display screen. I know what happened. Come alone. Maya stood nearby with her arms crossed. You aren't seriously going by yourself. I have to. That's exactly what people say before walking into obvious traps. She wasn't wrong. Unfortunately, I didn't have better options. Project Lazarus represented the first real lead since the outbreak began. If someone knew how this nightmare started, I needed answers, no matter the risk. 2 hours later, I left the town alone. Titan's boosters carried me across ruined highways and abandoned landscapes. The world below looked increasingly alien. Civilization had vanished with frightening speed. Entire cities stood silent. Smoke still drifted from skyscrapers. Vehicles clogged roads like metal grave markers. Occasionally, I spotted survivors, tiny groups hiding in remote areas, scavengers moving cautiously through ruined neighborhoods. Humanity hadn't disappeared, but it had become scattered fragments, isolated islands in an ocean of death. Athena displayed a countdown. Estimated arrival, 21 minutes. I nodded. The coordinates pointed toward a remote mountain range hundreds of miles inland. Perfect territory for a secret military facility. The kind governments always insisted didn't exist. Until they did. The entrance appeared shortly before noon. At first glance, it looked abandoned. An enormous steel blast door sat embedded within the mountainside. Military checkpoints surrounded the area. Most had been destroyed. Vehicles lay overturned. Bodies covered the ground. Some wore military uniforms. Others didn't. The zombies had clearly reached this place. Yet something felt strange. There weren't enough corpses. Not nearly enough. For a facility of this size, I expected hundreds, maybe thousands. Instead, there were only dozens. Athena noticed it too. Casualty numbers appear inconsistent. Exactly. My unease deepened. I approached the main entrance. The blast doors remained partially open, just enough to allow access, as though someone wanted me inside. The darkness swallowed me immediately. Emergency lights cast long red shadows across endless corridors. The facility extended deep underground, far deeper than I expected. Every surface carried signs of violent conflict. Bullet impacts, bloodstains, destroyed equipment. But again, very few bodies. It looked less like a last stand and more like an evacuation. As I descended further, Athena began accessing internal systems. Power remains active. Suddenly, movement appeared ahead. My combat systems activated instantly. Target markers filled my visor. Yet the approaching figure wasn't infected. It was human. An older man emerged from the shadows, perhaps 60 years old. Gray hair, thin frame, lab coat. Most surprisingly, he appeared completely calm, as though the world hadn't ended, as though I wasn't standing before him inside a 7-foot combat suit. I was beginning to think you wouldn't come. I stopped several meters away. You sent the message. Yes. Who are you? The man smiled sadly. Dr. Nathan Mercer. The name hit me like a hammer. I knew it. Not personally, professionally. Nathan Mercer had once been considered one of the greatest biological researchers on Earth. Then he vanished nearly 15 years ago. Officially, he'd retired. Unofficially, rumors suggested government recruitment. Project Lazarus. You created the virus. Mercer sighed. I helped create it. The distinction didn't improve my opinion. Anger surged through me. Millions dead. Maybe billions. And one of the architects stood calmly before me. Part of me wanted to crush him through a wall. Mercer seemed to recognize the emotion. You have every right to hate me. You're damn right I do. He nodded. I hate myself too. For a moment, genuine guilt crossed his face. Not performance. Not manipulation. Regret. Real regret. Then he gestured toward a nearby laboratory. Come with me. Against my better judgment, I followed. Because answers mattered more than revenge. At least for now. The laboratory looked untouched. Unlike the rest of the facility, this room remained immaculate. Data screens covered every wall. Research documents filled countless terminals. And at the center stood a large display showing a familiar image. The Titan suit. I froze. What is this? Mercer's expression darkened. The reason you're here. Every alarm in my head immediately activated. What are you talking about? The scientist walked toward the screen. Project Lazarus required unprecedented power generation. My stomach tightened. No. Mercer nodded. Yes. The image changed. Technical schematics appeared. My schematics. Titan schematics. Modified versions. Military versions. Classified versions. Versions I'd never seen before. My pulse accelerated. Athena remained silent. Even the AI appeared stunned. Mercer finally spoke. The power core inside Titan, his voice cracked slightly, was originally designed for Project Lazarus. The room seemed to tilt around me. I stared at him, unable to process the words. No, I'm afraid so. I stepped forward. You stole my technology. Mercer shook his head. Worse. The scientist met my eyes. You unknowingly built part of it. The truth emerged slowly, painfully. Years earlier, government intermediaries had purchased experimental energy patents through shell corporations. At the time, I never questioned it. Large corporations bought technology constantly. The transactions seemed ordinary, routine, profitable. What I didn't know was where those designs ended up. Project Lazarus. The government used my energy systems to power advanced biological experimentation, including the facility where the outbreak began. My stomach twisted. I hadn't created the virus, but I had helped create the environment that allowed it to exist, without realizing it, without knowing. Yet the guilt arrived anyway. Mercer seemed to understand. You didn't know. Doesn't matter. It does. I looked away, because deep down, I wasn't sure. How many corners had I ignored throughout my career? How many contracts had I signed without asking questions? How much responsibility belonged to people who never bothered looking deeper? The answers weren't comforting. Mercer activated another display. This one showed something even worse. Video footage, security recordings. The day the outbreak began, scientists running, alarms flashing, containment failures, chaos. Then the footage paused. A single frame remained on screen. A man standing calmly inside the panic, watching, waiting, smiling. I recognized him instantly. The same man Athena had captured from the surveillance feeds. The mysterious observer, the one monitoring my movements. Mercer pointed toward the screen. That's him. Who? The scientist's expression became grim. Director Adrian Kane. The name meant nothing to me. Mercer continued. He funded Lazarus. What does he want? The answer came immediately. He doesn't want survival. Mercer's eyes filled with dread. He wants evolution. Silence followed. Then realization hit me. The mutations. The fast zombies. The giant creature. They weren't accidents. They were progress. Someone was guiding this. Improving it. Controlling it. My blood ran cold. You're saying he planned this? Mercer's voice barely rose above a whisper. From the beginning. Before I could ask another question, every light in the facility suddenly died. Darkness swallowed everything. Emergency alarms erupted. Athena immediately activated night vision. Ethan, what now? Multiple contacts detected. My stomach dropped. How many? The AI processed briefly, then answered. Several hundred. Several hundred. Underground. Inside a sealed facility. Wonderful. The emergency lighting returned, and my heart nearly stopped. Figures filled every corridor outside the laboratory. Not ordinary zombies. Mutated zombies. Fast variants. Massive variants. Dozens of forms I'd never seen before. They stood motionless, watching, waiting, as though receiving instructions. Mercer's face drained of color. No. Then a voice echoed through hidden speakers. Calm, confident, amused. Welcome, Ethan. The voice belonged to Adrian Kane. You've exceeded every expectation. I looked around. Show yourself. A chuckle echoed through the facility. Soon, monitors throughout the room suddenly activated. Kane appeared. Tall, clean-cut, perfectly composed. A man sitting comfortably while the world burned around him. You see, Ethan, his smile widened. The apocalypse isn't the end. Behind him stood something hidden beneath shadows. Something enormous. Something that looked far bigger than any mutation I'd encountered. Kane continued speaking. It's merely the beginning. Then the shadow moved. And for the first time since the outbreak began, I felt genuine fear. Because whatever stood behind Kane wasn't a zombie. It wasn't human either. And somehow, impossibly, it appeared to be wearing armor. For several seconds, nobody spoke. The creature behind Adrian Kane slowly stepped forward from the darkness. Every instinct screamed that something was wrong. Not just dangerous. Wrong. The thing stood nearly 8 feet tall. Black armor covered its body. Its silhouette resembled Titan, but only at first glance. Where my suit looked engineered, this looked grown. Organic cables pulsed beneath armored plating. Veins moved across metallic surfaces. The armor appeared fused directly into flesh, alive. Athena's voice was unusually tense. Ethan, I see it. Biological and mechanical systems appear fully integrated. I stared at the monster. The realization hit me immediately. This wasn't armor. It was part of the creature, part of its body, part of its evolution. Adrian Kane smiled from the monitor. Beautiful, isn't it? No. That's because you're still thinking like a human. His grin widened. Humanity had its chance. The armored creature slowly turned its head toward the camera. Its eyes glowed a deep crimson. Then it smiled. My blood froze, because I recognized the face. The face beneath the armor. Nathan Mercer did too. His horror confirmed it. Impossible. The scientist staggered backward. No. I looked between them. Who is it? Mercer's voice shook. It was my son. Silence filled the room. Kane laughed softly. Was. The word echoed. Mercer's son had died years earlier, at least according to every official record. But now he stood before us, or something wearing his face did. Kane finally revealed the truth. Years ago, Project Lazarus had begun with a simple goal: defeat death, cure disease, extend human life. The usual promises that accompanied every dangerous scientific project. Then they discovered something unexpected. The infection didn't simply reanimate tissue. It changed it, adapted it, improved it. The virus viewed humanity as raw material, an unfinished blueprint. Kane became obsessed. While other scientists searched for a cure, he searched for evolution. The outbreak wasn't an accident. It was a release, a global experiment, the largest in human history. Billions of unwilling test subjects. Mercer lowered his head. You murdered the world. No. Kane smiled. I liberated it. The armored creature behind him remained perfectly still, watching, waiting. Then Kane looked directly at me. And now we arrive at you, Ethan. I already knew I wasn't going to like the next part. The Titan suit was never the end goal. Kane's image expanded across every monitor. It was the missing piece. Athena immediately began analyzing incoming data. Then something strange happened. Warning indicators filled my visor. Unauthorized access attempts. Dozens. Hundreds. Someone was trying to connect directly to Titan. Kane. He smiled knowingly. The virus evolves biology. His eyes narrowed. Your technology evolves machinery. The horrifying realization arrived all at once. The power core. The stolen designs. The interest in Titan. The surveillance. The traps. None of it was about killing me. They wanted the suit. More specifically, they wanted what the suit represented. The final stage. A fusion of man, machine, and infection. The armored monster stepped closer to the camera. This was only the prototype. Kane's voice sounded almost reverent. You are the future. I felt sick. Because for the first time, I understood the true purpose of everything. The zombies weren't the final form. They were merely the beginning. The laboratory shook violently. Athena interrupted. Ethan, the facility is unlocking containment zones. I immediately understood. Kane wasn't finished talking. because he wanted conversation. He was buying time. Thousands of reinforced doors throughout the complex began opening. Warning sirens echoed everywhere. Mercer looked horrified. No. The scientist swallowed hard. There are experimental specimens below us. How many? His silence gave me the answer. Too many. Way too many. Then the first roar echoed through the facility, followed by dozens more. Then hundreds. The hunt had begun. The next 20 minutes became a nightmare. Titan smashed through wave after wave of mutated infected. Fast variants. Massive variants. Creatures with armor-like skin. Others possessing elongated limbs capable of climbing walls and ceilings. The facility became a maze of death. Mercer followed close behind while I cleared a path. Athena continuously mapped escape routes. Unfortunately, every route eventually led deeper underground, toward Cain, toward answers, toward the armored monster. The deeper we descended, the stranger everything became. The mutations grew increasingly advanced. Less zombie, more something else. As though evolution had accelerated beyond human comprehension. Then we reached the lowest level, and everything changed. The chamber was enormous, large enough to contain a stadium. Massive reactors illuminated the darkness. Machinery stretched in every direction. At the center stood Adrian Cain, waiting. Beside him stood the armored creature, the prototype, the Iron King, Cain's masterpiece. The man smiled when he saw me. I knew you'd make it. I stepped forward. This ends now. Cain actually laughed. No, Ethan. He spread his arms. This begins now. The Iron King moved. I had fought countless zombies. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. Nothing compared to this. The creature crossed 50 feet instantly. Its fist collided with Titan. The impact launched me through reinforced steel. Warning systems exploded across my visor. Major damage detected. I barely regained balance before the next attack arrived. The Iron King moved faster than the variants, stronger than the giants, smarter than both. Every strike felt calculated, precise, purposeful. This wasn't a monster. This was a soldier, a weapon, a successor. The battle raged across the chamber. Titan's boosters roared. Steel shattered. Concrete collapsed. Entire sections of the facility crumbled around us. Yet the Iron King refused to fall. Every time I gained an advantage, it adapted, learned, improved. Exactly like the virus. Exactly like Cain intended. Athena suddenly detected something. Ethan. The creature's armor utilizes Titan architecture. Of course it did. Everything always came back to Titan. Can we exploit it? A pause. Then, yes. Hope surged. How? Athena displayed a schematic. One weakness. One. A vulnerable connection point near the power core. The same flaw Titan possessed before its final redesign. The same flaw only I knew existed. The opportunity came seconds later. The Iron King charged. I did the same. The two of us collided with enough force to shake the entire chamber. At the last moment, I twisted, avoided the killing strike, then drove my arm directly into the vulnerable point. The armor cracked. Energy erupted outward. The creature froze. For the first time, genuine surprise crossed its face. Then the power core exploded. A blinding shockwave consumed everything. The Iron King screamed. The sound barely resembled anything human. Then it collapsed, motionless, dead, finally dead. Adrian Kane stared in disbelief. His masterpiece destroyed, his future shattered, his dream dying before his eyes. The expression almost made the entire ordeal worthwhile. Almost. Kane backed away, slowly. Then he smiled. That smile immediately worried me. People whose plans have failed aren't supposed to smile. Not like that. Not then. You still don't understand. I pointed Titan toward him. Explain it. The man laughed. A genuine laugh. Not nervous. Not desperate. Certain. Completely certain. Then he activated a control panel. Every screen in the facility illuminated simultaneously. My stomach dropped. Hundreds of red markers appeared across the globe. Research facilities, laboratories, storage sites, bunkers, thousands of them, all connected, all active, all hidden. Mercer looked horrified. My God. Kane nodded. Exactly. The outbreak had never been centralized. Project Lazarus existed everywhere. The facility beneath us was only one node, one piece, one experiment. Even if Kane died, the network remained. His plan would continue. Then Athena spoke. Her voice sounded different, stronger, clearer. Ethan, what now? The AI paused, as though processing something massive, something impossible. Then she revealed the final twist. The one truth none of us expected. The infection is changing. Everyone froze. What do you mean? Athena displayed global data, satellite information, biological scans, mutation patterns. Then she answered. The virus is no longer spreading randomly. My pulse quickened. Then what's it doing? Athena's response changed everything. It appears to be organizing. Silence. Complete silence. Even Kane looked confused. Athena continued. Independent mutations across multiple continents are converging toward identical behavioral patterns. I stared at the data, unable to process it. Then understanding arrived. Slowly. Terribly. The zombies weren't evolving separately anymore. They were evolving together, like cells within a single organism, like parts of a single mind. Something was connecting them, something vast, something intelligent. Then every screen in the facility went black. At once. Every monitor, every display, every system, gone. A second later, one image appeared. Just one. A symbol. Unknown. Unfamiliar. Alien. Athena's voice dropped to a whisper. Ethan. The AI had never sounded afraid before. Until now. What is it? For several seconds, she didn't answer. Then, I don't think the virus created this. Cold terror spread through me. What are you saying? The symbol pulsed. Somewhere far beyond the facility, beyond the continent, beyond the horizon itself. Something responded. Athena finally spoke, and her words changed everything. I think something created the virus. The chamber fell silent. Kane stopped smiling. Mercer stopped breathing. And for the first time since the apocalypse began, every person in the room realized humanity might not be fighting for its future. It might be fighting against something far older, far larger, and far more intelligent than anyone had ever imagined. Then the symbol vanished. The facility lights died. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the world we knew, something woke up.